Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my November 2019 horoscope report for you. This month we have double the sweet aspects compared to the salty ones, and when that happens, it sets a mood for the general transits that's harmonious and happy. And we have Mercury Retrograde, and Mercury in Retrograde brings things from the past back into the forefront. So when we have the combination of sweetness in the stars and Mercury Retrograde, it tends to bring sweet things from the past, happiness from the past, projects from the past, and even work that was done in the past coming to fruition or outcomes coming in a wonderful way. So we have all of that as an increased possibility in store. The mood of the month is very much still dominated by Scorpio because most of the personal planets are putting their energy through that filter, and that means it's a lot of emotional intensity. So it's definitely an emotional month, but it's definitely a good sign that there are more sweet aspects because the chance for breakthroughs are much more likely when that happens. We have Sag energy starting to dribble in, and so Sagittarius tends to show us the light at the end of the tunnel, especially when it's happening amidst this emotional time. So if you've been moving through an emotional tunnel, the Sag light at the end will start to become more apparent, and towards the end of the month that will get stronger and set us up for the Sagittarius party that is going to happen in December. So the mood will definitely start to lighten throughout the month. Something else huge that we have going on is one of my favorite aspects of the whole year, which is the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. So we're going to talk about what that can bring in general, and we're also going to zero in on your personal chart to see what field of experience that's going to occur, so you know where extra goodies can be from that aspect. I'll also share that date. I'm going to share with you all of the dates that are challenging, all of the dates that are sweet, so that you can mark them in your calendar. Also, we have eclipse rumblings. The eclipses are going to start showing up in big ways. December and January, we have eclipses, but we can often see manifestations, news, trajectory changes from the eclipses at least 4 to 6 weeks before they occur. That's why I always talk about them early, because here in November, we are very likely to see things coming in from that December eclipse. So I'm going to give you more information about that, a lot of information about the eclipse cycle so you can understand it for your patterns and your storylines. And I'll also, again, zero in on where exactly, what field of experience in your chart you will see this eclipse manifest and what kinds of things I've tended to see go along with that. I'm an astrology teacher, so I always use the charts to show you why things may happen instead of just what may happen. So if you want to learn, you're definitely in store for a wonderful learning experience. You can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, to see many more free blogs. I also have tons of other resources on there, including signing up for my free email newsletter, which gets you a general transit write-up of all the dates, all the aspects that are notable, and what you can expect from them 1 month early in your inbox. And if you love how I teach and you want to learn, you can see my astrology apprenticeship program at anniehelpsyou.com, as well as my other offerings. And definitely check out my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, a wonderful spiritual companion for anyone who's seeking and who wants to create the life of their dreams. So you can go to radicalprayerbook.com. So let's see what the stars have in store for you. Hello, Aries friends. I'm going to give you lots of information about how this month may look for Aries, and some of it will be true for all Aries placements, but there are going to be parts where I differentiate out depending on where on the spectrum of Aries you are. So early degree are basically our March born, or 0 to 9 degrees. Middle degree around April 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19. Late around April 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. I have Aries rising. I'm a middle degree Aries rising, so when I do this report for y'all, I'm also doing it for myself. So I tend to know these Aries placements better from my personal experience. But in any case, if you have Aries rising, or your sun is in Aries, or your moon is in Aries, this report is for you equally, because the sun chart, the moon chart, and the rising chart, which is also the natal chart, all are windows that look out into the experience for the individual, and they're all true at the same time. So I always recommend watching for your rising and sun at minimum, and then if you want to experiment with your moon one as well, you can do that. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the general climate of the month, what tends to go on with the mathematical angles, with the personal planets that are dominating this month as they connect mathematically with the Aries placements. I'm going to talk about the beautiful, awesome, super fly fantastic Venus-Jupiter conjunction and what some of the general potentials of that can be and where that's going to occur in your chart. Then I'm going to talk about the eclipse. So let's just get right to it. The first thing we need to know is that it's still a domination of Scorpio placements. Okay, so Mercury's going in retrograde, so it's hanging out here. The sun's moving through Scorpio. Mars will get to Scorpio towards the end of the month. In general, Scorpio energy and Aries energy is not as awesome because they make a 150-degree angle. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signs between them. 5 times 30, there are 30 degrees in each sign. There's a 150-degree angle, which is super awkward. And you can understand this if we just get really literal with it. Aries is a fire sign. We like action. Scorpio is an emotional sign. They like emotion and deep abyss, kind of heavy, emotional, deep things. And Aries just wants to go be free with their mobility and just do what they're doing, and those energies don't flow very well. So when these things happen, what usually happens, and this started in October and is continuing into November, is that you get forced into emotion that you really don't want to deal with. So I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's happening. Now, the bright side of it is that if you're a spiritual seeker and you are embracing the totality of life, the more you sit with the emotions, you can be very productive. You can bring spiritual breakthroughs. So this is definitely going to be an emotional month. But because there are more beautiful aspects, around 12 of those, compared to the salty ones, at least there's more of a chance for it to be happy emotion. But it will be emotional, and you will have to slow down a bit for your emotions and other people's emotions. You might have to address some of the emotions yourself, and for the other parts of it could just be you're holding space for other people. But definitely expect some tensions with that. Good news, though, is that Saggy energy is starting up. So the whole month, Venus is going to be in Sag. So throughout all of November, it's going to kiss all of our Aries placements. So the more Aries placements you have, the more kisses you get from Venus. I'm going to talk in more details about this Venus and Jupiter conjunction, which will help you better understand what other things you might see from the kisses that you get this month from Sag. Okay? Jupiter, especially for very late degree placements, like from 23 to 29 degrees, or the last 6 or so days of the sign, you're going to get a big kiss from Jupiter. The sun's going to get there, so early degree placements, you're going to get big kisses from the sun starting at the end of November, and then all the rest of the Aries placements will get their sun kisses in December. So, Venus rules love, beauty, and money. Jupiter rules expansion of everything. The sun rules your vitality and creativity and what makes you light up. Eventually Mercury will get to Sag. That's awesome for Aries. Eventually, later down the road, Mars will get there. So you've got a nice lineup of Sag energies that are coming, and this will light you up like the 4th of July. You may notice every year around this time that you start to get lit up because of those Sag energies. And that really accentuates this 9th house, which has to do with, so again, I'm using the early degree chart, but this is true for everybody, unless I've differentiated out. Okay, so what tends to happen around this time, and is definitely true right now, November into December, is that your 9th house is going to be lit up like crazy. So teaching, publishing, writing, speaking, learning, education programs, or you stepping out as a teacher or do your teaching in a different way, things involving your church or your spirituality, international connections, international clients, international trips, either being planned or occurring, really a lot of publishing energy, editing, writing, blogs, books, things like that, really getting lit up for Aries. Okay, so on November 24th, or around there, depending on your time zone, plus or minus, we'll say 4 or so days, so around the 20th or the 28th of November, this beautiful aspect between Venus and Jupiter is going to occur. And so let's look at where that's going to happen. So for the early degree placements, that's going to be 9th house. Let's get some of this stuff away from here so you can see. So this is going to happen at 28 degrees of Sag. So we have to see where 28 degrees of Sag is for each of you. So that's going to occur in the middle degree or in the 9th house as well. And late degree, you're going to have that in the 9th house. So basically all early, middle, and late degree Aries will see this in the 9th house, and you early degree placements, you have a chance to also see it in the 10th house. Okay, so the 9th house has to do with all those things I mentioned, the teaching, learning, publishing, international stuff. So besides the general effects of Venus getting together with Jupiter, you might have extra enhancement in that publishing, speaking, traveling house, early degree placements. You may also have some boost to your work. Now, if you're an Aries who has 9th house related work, this can be a big boost to your work. Now, some of the general effects of Venus, to understand this better, we have to understand my Grandma Marge. If you've been watching my reports for a while, then you've met her already. If not, then welcome to Grandma Marge, who is the beautiful epitome of the Venus archetype. All of these placements, these planets, they're people. Their energies are like people. They have this archetypal energy, which is, divisions of experience that we have as humans. And the better you understand the archetype, the more you understand what can happen when these planets do certain things in the chart. So my Grandma Marge, when she would see me, she would kiss me on the mouth, typical Italian family style. She'd say, "Oh, you're so beautiful and wonderful." Compliments, recognition. She would give me money. She'd pop a meatball in my mouth. There's the fork. Her house is really cozy. Okay, so Venus on its own, love, recognition, self-esteem, money, financial situations, sustenance, comfort. Getting together with Jupiter, the great expander, in the most optimistic sign of Sag, can bring a massive amount of luck in all of these areas: love, beauty, money, self-esteem, recognition, comfort, sustenance, harmony. There was one time that on this transit, my family and I went to go do something we hadn't done in decades. We're very excited about it. And this was occurring, and it dominated the whole day. So it was just perfect weather. We had perfect timing. We got free tickets to the venue just walking there. Somebody gave us free tickets. A historical event happened while we were there. And it was just so wonderful in every way, just benevolence, luck. So that's the energy that we're talking about. It can happen in any area of life, but that 9th house that we talked about is more likely to be accentuated. That 9th house is super hot for all Aries placements because that's also the site of this eclipse. So the eclipse is going to be at 4 degrees of Cap. It is on December 25th or 26th, depending on your time zone. And if you're saying, "Annie, why are you talking about this if it's in December and November?" I think I mentioned earlier that there is a hot spot of 4 to 6 weeks before an eclipse that we tend to see major news come in, like there's exclamation point, major trajectory changes, major information coming in, sometimes 4 to 6 or even more weeks before the eclipse. That's why I always talk about these things early, because if we talk about them when they're actually happening, we've already missed a huge period of time that it was occurring. So the site of this, for your early degree placements, you could see it in the 10th house, but you could also see it in the 9th house. And the middle and late degree placements are going to see it more likely in the 9th house because that's where it's falling in the chart. Some of the middle degree placements might have some whispers of the 10th house. Okay, so we'll say for early, it's 9th and 10th. For middle, it's 9th and 10th. For late, it's just 9th. All right? So this is what I have in store for you to best really understand this eclipse cycle. Eclipse cycles are so important and they're so dominating in our experience. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop in a lesson about this Capricorn Cancer eclipse cycle. I'll tell you the dates that it's happened. I'll show you every date that one of the eclipses happened already and when they are still yet to come. And I'll talk about when they happened last so that you can see years ago when this was occurring, so you can look back and see what themes were at play. And I'll talk about the types of things I tend to see. Do note that if you are an early degree placement, and the closer you are to 4 degrees with your placement, you're going to have even more effects from this eclipse. And it's a 90-degree angle, so that's a pressure challenge. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be challenging, could be super stressful. But sometimes it's like cracking you into the new thing that you want. So you have this vision of what you want, but in order to get there, you have to make quite a bit of change. And so this 90-degree angle could just be the taking place of the change that has to occur. But you early degree placements 0 through 9 degrees, closer to 4, the more powerful, are going to be hit by this eclipse even more, just in general. Okay, so after this general Cancer Capricorn eclipse tutorial, I'm going to drop in the 9th house tutorial. So this will tell you, from my experience of doing thousands of live readings, what I have tended to see come up from eclipses in the 9th house. And then that will be true for all early, middle, and late degree placements, 9th house potentials. Then the early and middle degree placements, you can see this in the 10th house. So then I'll drop in the tutorial for what you might see from that. Now, do note, if your work is in the 9th house, like you have 9th house based work, then you might see this energy in what would be the equivalent of your 10th house too. But so you can watch it, there might be pieces of resonance for you. Then I'm going to talk about the general transits, and I will list all the sweet aspect dates. I'll list all the salty aspect dates. I'll talk about the very rare transit of Mercury and some other things I think will be helpful for you to really make the most of this month. Okay, so here is my overview for the Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycles. It's always helpful when we're having an astrological cycle that is relevant at the current time to think back to when it happened before, and also to just kind of understand when it's going to happen again in the future. So the last time the Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycle occurred was between 2009 and 2011. And the next time it will happen after now, because we're in it now, is between 2027 and 2029. So what I have here, I'm going to give you a quick overview and timeline of this cycle and show you what we still have left to kind of understand the timeline. The reason why it's important to understand these dates is because there is a storyline that is taking place over the time from the beginning of the eclipse cycle till the end. And the themes were introduced around the time, sometimes a little early, before, so around July of 2018 or a little bit sooner. The themes that came up, that are going to come up and be present this whole time, started to come up. And then at the end of the cycle, many of the things will have resolved or shifted or come to a conclusion, or whatever that turns out to look like. The reason why I spend so much time and energy in the reports where the eclipse energies are more present is because they tend to bring dramatic conclusions, amazing, brilliant new openings, a shuffling around of energy in a very intense, notable way with major trajectory shifts. And because of this, usually at that period of time, things are going on and people are looking around saying, what the heck is going on? People around me are going through these massive changes. I'm going through changes. Or sometimes you're a space holder for someone else going through changes and not the one having them. But it's like there's something that seems like it's, in the air, and it literally is in the sky, and it is literally down into our experience. So there's this massive shuffling around of energy. So that law that says matter is not created nor destroyed, or can't be created or nor destroyed, it simply changes form, is very much evident at eclipse time. So things will be taken away from a certain area, so they'll be eclipsed out, and then energy will be added in to a new area where these new openings will come as things are crossed out. So that's the typical, just general storyline. So as we get closer, and I usually use 4 to 6 weeks before and after each actual eclipse date as the hot spot, I call it, for the eclipse news. But anything related to any of the themes that are going on for this eclipse cycle can happen during any of this time. It doesn't have to be only right near the hot spots, but the odds are greatly increased that news, events, changes, breakthroughs, openings, closes will occur as we're closer to these dates, and that's why they're important. Okay, so July 2nd, 2018, then January 5th, 2019, and then the most recent ones before now were July 2nd and July 16th. If you want to go back to understand those eclipses and try to make more sense of things that occurred then, you can find the information about what house, meaning field of experience for your sign, the eclipses hit for, okay? So basically, the Cancer Capricorn polarity brings tendencies for certain changes to all signs, and they would have to do with the energy of Cancer and the energy of Capricorn. So every sign has had an increased chance of a lot of shuffling around, notable changes, drama, conclusions, new beginnings in the house of home and family, and in the energy of work and your place out in the world, and the dynamic and push and pull between those places, and energies of mother and father and parenting and maternal energy and paternal energy and your inner authority, your outer authority. Every sign has been having storylines from this eclipse cycle in those polarities. But when it's eclipse time, I also drill down into the houses that they occur for each sign. And that gets even more specific about how it affects you when you were born, what your rising sign is, what your moon sign is. You can look at these reports to drill it down even further. Okay, so for the July eclipse, if you look at my June report, and this is 2019, you can get more insight into that. And then for the July 16th eclipse, again, these happened already, but sometimes retrospectively going back to have understanding is helpful. You can see my July 2019 report for that. Now, bringing us to the present time, we're in the November report, and I am going to be talking about this December 25th eclipse. Depending on your time zone, that might actually happen on the 26th, but in either case, it's at 4 degrees of Capricorn. So to follow this general drop-in, I'm going to show you where in your personal charts this eclipse is going to hit and what things you can expect with that. Then probably the December report I'll devote to talking about Jupiter moving into Capricorn. There is a chance I might talk about the January of 2020 eclipse in the December report, but I'm not sure yet. So, check out the December, and then definitely know by the January report I will be telling you where this January 10th eclipse will be hitting for you. And then the last eclipse has happened. So you see I have these kind of grouped this way because this is one set, and then this is the last set here, in June and July of 2020. So those dates will end out this whole cycle, and things that began here will be getting wrapped up, moving along. And so you can kind of understand that where we're at. So the story in many cases is not done yet. Maybe there will be some kind of conclusion or final chapter that occurs, and then maybe, these ones here are the integration time or follow-up things or something like that. But for the most part, we're in a storyline that's still in process. And regardless of the finality or the occurrences that happen at this time, probably we're going to need until the end of this cycle in order for us to see the conclusion of the story that we are almost done with. So now I'm going to show you the charts of your particular sign and show you what houses or fields of experience this December 25th, 26th eclipse is going to occur, and what themes specifically you can expect with that. Eclipse time tends to be an emotional time, since the eclipses are talking about eclipses involving the moon. And the moon rules the inner world, the realm of emotion. So emotions, for better and worse, are a general theme for eclipse time. We tend to have dramatic occurrences and sometimes just breathtaking, awesome, brilliant new opportunities. So basically things being eclipsed out, things being eclipsed in, and it's just a pretty wild time of major trajectory changes, things coming to fruition, things ending, and things beginning. When there are eclipses in the 9th house or Sagittarius, teaching is a major topic. So you as a teacher, people in the teaching field will see a lot of changes in how they're doing their work. The topic of learning and teaching are pretty much related, and they're both Sagittarius things. So getting educated, learning, your learning journey, educational resources, programs, schooling of any kind can come to an end or come to a fruition. You could be graduating with the eclipse energy, or you could be starting a new chapter, or you could be moving along a continuum of learning or teaching. Some people who are not yet teachers but who are born to be will step out into the teaching realm when it's eclipse time. So anything having to do with writing and publishing and speaking, and again, this is related to teaching. People who are writing, a lot of people who write and are publishing have something important to say. They have a message. Speakers, bringing information out to people, expanding people's horizons. So new projects, publishing launches, movement along, those fronts are very, very, very common. Could be the completion of a book, could be the launch of a book, could be a new speaking opportunity, things like that. Chances to go into the international realms, whether it's via the internet through international business and expanding your work out into an international venue, or actually physically traveling, or interacting with people through your work that are in different countries. I always call this energy of Sagittarius the sage on the mountain, where if there's a little village that has their water source disappear and they go up to see the sage on the mountain, and the sage says, well, I can see that 3 miles up there's a beaver dam. You just clear the dam and you'll have your water back. It's this idea of solutions. It's this idea of solving problems with a different mindset than was created. Einstein said, you can't solve problems with the same mindset that they were created. You have to break out and look at it from a different point of view. And when there's a Sag or 9th house eclipse, sometimes that new viewpoint or that new solution or new optimism will come in. Your actual belief systems and ways of looking at the world can change drastically with an eclipse in the 9th house or Sagittarius. So a way that you saw something could change. A separation from a certain religion or spiritual path can occur. For some people, a dark night of the soul, where they're in that process of not really being sure of their footing in that space. And sometimes a new philosophy or a re-energizing of a previous philosophy, getting on your spiritual path in a bigger way, either from going back to an old method or a new way of seeing things, is very common. So things having to do with belief systems can come to a head or can come into the forefront, and so can work with a church or general spiritual work come in as a big focus. Some people might just see changes within their church or their spiritual ways. So like, a new pastor or a new, spiritual leader or new resources along those fronts. This energy of Sagittarius also has to do with adventure. So the Sag or 9th house eclipse can bring you on an adventure. A lot of times this does involve traveling, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it could be a new tool or, even a book series or a project that is a major, major adventure, doing something that stretches you out of the norm and often out of your comfort zone. I've seen many people have a change with the eclipse in the ninth house or Sagittarius with the taking in or the putting out of information. Okay, so this is along the lines of this teaching and learning, but something like taking the knowledge that you have and doing something with it. A book is one of those ways, talking, publishing, things like that. Sometimes it could be a blog or some other resource where you take this big accumulation of your knowledge and you actually start doing something with it. And for others who have been focusing on those realms, they can start to focus on more mundane or more practical uses of teaching. So this can go anything from like, here I have all this information, here is how you use this information in a practical way, or going and stretching out into, more and more information. So it rules information small, like micro information and macro information. So moving along those fronts, sharing information in those ways. And for many people who are learners, you keep taking in information, but you get bottlenecked because you have no outlet. So this eclipse, for many people, will open you up to an outlet to start draining out of your field all of that information that you've taken in and putting it into something usable or even something lofty and more philosophical. But in any case, a conduit to get it out so that you can have your creative flow back, because you get all of this information out of your space and into where it can be used. Different cultures and immersing in different cultures and different languages. So learning different languages can also be part of this ninth house and Sagittarius specific, or having someone from a different country come to stay with you, or having a relationship with someone from a different country where different cultures and languages come in to your experience in a pronounced way. Eclipses tend to bring in new opportunities and or dramatic endings and closures, or things coming to fruition. The things that tend to be highlighted at a 10th house eclipse time or Capricorn eclipse time are the work sector. So job, boss, co-workers as it relates to your work experience, your career. So ending a job is very, very common at eclipse time, either through getting fired, having a compensation package, or voluntary leaving of the job. Sometimes new opportunities for work come in that you can do on the side of your other work. So a new job opportunity that allows you to keep your current one, so it just kind of adds to. And sometimes it's a lateral movement. Sometimes there's a move for work. So there's a work opportunity, but it requires a move. And sometimes there's a necessity to move, which can necessitate the change for work because of the move. So it can work either way. A lot of times when there's an eclipse in the 10th house, or an eclipse cycle is working in the 10th house or in Capricorn, father or father figures come into the forefront in a bigger way. Sometimes dad has something going on. There could be illness, there could be pressure, there could be something they're experiencing. Sometimes it could just be that the father or father figure is helping you, or that your relationship to father, either through forgiveness or through other, collaboration, could be coming into the forefront. So projects with dad, relationship with dad is often going to come into the forefront. Authority figures, which again usually has a basis in what your relationship was like with your father as a child, or your father figure, or lack of father figure, but clashes with authority, including like legal or police matters, sometimes come for people, or bosses, or you being your own authority, finding your inner authority, or, kind of like being an authority to somebody else, management positions, or stepping into those type of roles. For those who don't work or have a career or need to make money, the energy of the place out in the world can often come up at eclipse time with a 10th house or Capricorn eclipse, where there's a finding of a dharmic path, like this is what I'm supposed to do, which may or may not be related to money. But stepping out into the world, taking one's role in the world, doing what someone came here to do, sometimes there's movement along those fronts, either through accomplishment, like you accomplish a goal of what you set out to do, or through greater discovery about what it is exactly that you're supposed to do. One of the resources that I really love for this is a book called Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller. She's my favorite astrologer, and this book has had the most influence on me. So that her book can help you through a certain placement in your chart to better understand the pitfalls that keep you away from doing what you're supposed to do and what your highest expression is and how to get there. So I highly recommend that for everybody, especially when this cycle is occurring. The energy of discipline and responsibility. So some people have too much discipline and too much responsibility, in which cases these eclipses could cut out something that you were responsible for. It could be, maybe a child is graduating from college, or, something is happening where there's an ending to what you were responsible for. Maybe you had a goal and you were disciplined to get there and you reached the goal and now you can lighten up a bit. And for others, it will bring up the question of possibly needing more discipline. So something could occur from the outside, or an impetus can occur from the inside to get a strategy together, to be more responsible, to be more accountable, to take more ownership, and get back more feeling like you're in the driver's seat of your life through your work and discipline and your strategy or bigger plan. So strategies can end, shift, be new, come into fruition. Lots of movement in all of these areas at this time. Okay, so I'm going to give you the visuals on the general transits that will affect all signs for November 2019. And definitely remember that what I'm giving you here is a summary of some of the things to watch out for. If you want a more complete written list of the general transits that are most notable and the energies and potentials that go along with them delivered into your inbox 1 month early, then definitely go to AnnieHelpsYou.com. And at AnnieHelpsYou.com, you can sign up for my free email newsletter. Annie Helps You, that's supposed to say Y-O-U. It's not legible. Then you sign up for my free email newsletter, and I will send you a written report about this general transit energy a month beforehand so that you have it for your planning purposes and you have it, as a visual. Okay, so like I mentioned, the first thing to know about this month is that there are around 12 awesome aspects and around 6 more challenging ones. So whenever we have a month where there's like double the nice ones compared to the challenging ones, then it sets a tone for the month that is super sweet. Now, as I always give this disclaimer, I will give it again. The general transits are just that. They're general. They're happening. This is one layer of absolute truth that is occurring for everyone. But your personal chart, the way the planets are hitting in your actual chart, which we can't see a lot of that. We can see the sun sign, the rising sign, and the horoscopes, but there are all these planets here in your chart. And the way that the current planetary arrangements are hitting all of those planets for you could cause you to have a different experience than is the general theme or mood, okay? But now back to, speaking about this general mood, it's super sweet because we have so much more of this sweet aspect energy. The second very important thing to remember, and we'll look at this in the chart, is that Mercury is going retrograde. I talked in detail about Mercury retrograde in October because I always talk about things early because we feel them happening early. So between October 31st or November 1st, depending on your time zone, Mercury is actually going to start its retrograde process. On October 12th, it started its pre-shadow or its pre-transit shadow period. So every day from October 12th through the 31st, we were going deeper into the energies of Mercury retrograde, which is why I talked about them in the October reports. But now, on these days, it's actually occurring. Okay, so this Mercury is going to go back. Now again, you see this, we're not looking at, we're looking at not the house configurations for this chart because we're not looking at a certain sign. We're just looking at the mathematical relationships between the planets. So this reading is for everybody. So Mercury is going to go back from 27 degrees of Scorpio back to 11 degrees of Scorpio. And so if you have any placements that are between 27 and 11 degrees, that especially in mathematical, connection to Scorpio, then is going to be more intense for you. And I did talk about more of those details in the October reports for all signs, but just to kind of, have a guideline here. Since it stays retrograde until November 20th, the whole mood of the month has to do with things from the past. Now, some new things can pop through, but there's going to be this strong theme of energies from the past. So I'm calling it sweetness from the past because there's so much sweetness and the energy is tilted, backwards. Now, we also talked about the fact that there are eclipse rumblings, and there are because as early as November, you may start to see some eclipse news come in. But you can definitely look to the sign reports, individual sign reports for November to see where they're going to hit for each of your signs and also have an overview of this eclipse cycle. The days of the sweet aspects. Okay, so we'll put our big smiley face here. Okay, so November 3rd, 8th, 9th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 23rd, 24th, 26th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Sometimes the energies from the transits that happen on a certain day can be felt before or after that day. So don't hang your hat too closely to the exact day, but just kind of know that there's a lot of sweetness around the days here. The challenging ones are on the 5th, 11th, 14th, 20th, 24th, and 26th. You notice how sometimes the same day will have either an aspect that could go either way or multiple aspects, one that could be sweet and one that could be salty. You see that happening actually on the 24th too, and also on the 11th. The 24th of November is one of my favorite days of the whole year because it is the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. And this is very potentially expansive to love, self-esteem, money, blessings, luck, just amazing things coming out of the blue. In this case, since the energies are in Sagittarius, which is, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so there's some extra energy of Sag in this storyline. There's even potential for more luck since Sagittarius rules good luck and expansion and things involving education and publishing and traveling and learning and teaching and spiritual evolution. So definitely put a nice big star in the days around here. Now, do remember, of course, like we talked about, there is also a salty aspect on the 24th and 26th. So those things could also be happening, but this is still a pretty powerful aspect to note. Something else really important to note as well is November 11th. November 11th has an aspect that day. The Sun in Scorpio is conjunct Mercury. Okay, so then that day, this and this will get together and amplify each other's energy, bringing potential intensity for better or worse. But occurring on that same day is a very rare transit of Mercury. Okay, so this only happens around 13 times in a century. And the next times they'll happen will be 2032 and 2039. For your reference to think back, if there was anything notable that occurred for you, The last time this happened was May 9th, 2016. It also happened November 8th, 2006, May 7th, 2003, November 15th, 1999. So sometimes it's really helpful to be able to go back and see if periods of time had something noteworthy for you, because sometimes that can help you better understand how the energy may manifest. So basically with the transit of Mercury, for a short time with a telescope, you can actually see Mercury, tiny, very tiny, crossing over the path of the sun. So that's a pretty cool astronomical occurrence, but it also turns out to be energetically a very cool astrological occurrence. And so, you know, it just can add to the intensity. Mercury rules news and travel and communication and devices for that. So breakthroughs in communication, really big news, really big physical shifts, things like that could be prominent at this time. Okay, so those are the things most on my mind, just to give you a summary of this month of the general transits. Definitely sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com, because you can see more about what I do in that newsletter is all of these dates that I list. I tell you what the aspect is and what kinds of energies tend to go along with them. So I have these all itemized out. Okay, also if you want more information about the month, I do also do written horoscopes at cozybysweetstarlight.com. And they're often talking about different things than I talk about in the videos. Okay, so Cozy by Sweet, this is all one URL, starlights.com. You can get monthly horoscopes, again, around a month early on there to get more information, and you can go to anniehelpsyou.com in order to get more blogs. And actually on Cozy, there are also lots of other astrology blogs, astrology for wellness blogs, and other positive lifestyle blogs. And at anniehelpsyou.com, I have lots of astrology blogs for the full moon, for the new moon. So I put together lots of things for you to be able to make the most of the energetic potentials. Definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com to check out all of my free blogs. You can also check out my Astrology Basics and Beyond course if you want to learn the basics of astrology. If you want to go into an insane amount of in-depth astrology wonder, then you can check out my astrology apprenticeship program that can teach you how to use astrology for anything from self-development, helping yourself, helping your friends and family, to being a professional astrologer full on. I can help you with that. You can check my course out at anniehelpsyou.com. I also have a coach certification course. I also have a creating successful online business course that teaches you how to create an online presence and funnel that presence into your paid services so that you can roam free as a bird like I am. You can see I'm in a random place recording because I'm traveling and trying to get these recordings done for you. So you can see all of that at anniehelpsyou.com. Definitely check out my husband B.R. Newman's site, iamhelios.com, iamhelios.com. He is going to soon have a tarot companion guide, an astrology companion guide that serve as your helpers in your study process as well, plus other cool offerings that he has there and a lot of free stuff as well. Go to see my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life in the World in 28 Days. It has become a beloved bedside companion and purse and card-toting companion to my fellow spiritual seekers, so I have heard. So you can see that at radicalprayerbook.com. If you love my shirt, this was sent to me by an amazing woman, with an artist with a beautiful story. And she creates these awesome astrology design garments and all kinds of other designs as well. So you can see her story. These are also all hand stitched by adults in Canada. So you can check that out in the notes below this video. So when you click on the ... or more, all of my websites will be there. The link to see more about these designs will be there. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.